As somebody who was very afraid for all my life and had severe anxiety for all my life, I'm here to tell you that it can get better. Hello, I'm Jara and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to discuss some things about fear. So if you are a fearful, anxious person, I think a lot of us are, I'm very sorry. It sucks. I was an anxious person since I was little. I was always afraid as a child that I will lose my mom, that I will get lost somewhere, that she's not gonna pick me up from somewhere, that I will, I don't know, lose this safety of mine. And then later on, I was very afraid of people judging me, like in school, that they will start bullying me. And I put this metaphorical protective layer around myself and really closed up to everybody in my elementary school and high school because I was just so afraid that they're gonna judge me. And yeah, I was really in my own bubble, always on the lookout, always afraid that people are gonna judge me. And I had a lot of fears through the years, a lot of them. It's really my anxiety that always found something that I can be afraid of. And recently, for the past years, it has been financial fear, it has been fear of making art and succeeding or failing, both, and also a fear of illness. Health anxiety, as they call it. We, I think, can all agree that our society is kind of obsessed by fear. There is a lot of fear in the media. The news are very scary. All those negative, scary information about, you know, the world basically ending with all the politics and environmental changes. And people love to watch that and hear about it. Also the movies, somebody is fearful or somebody is in danger, or there is this big suspense of something terrible happening. And yeah, it's a part of our storytelling, you know. Something goes wrong terribly and we are entertained by feeling of suspense and fear. And then it resolves and we get to feel safe and happy again. Well, I think about my fears the same way. I can feel that my fears are there because they are trying to protect me. I always felt unsafe in this world, you know, it's scary, it's just me in this weird body, and there is so many potential dangers everywhere, outside and inside my body, and it can just feel really scary to be trapped in this miniature fragile body on this giant planet, not knowing where I came from, not knowing really where I'm going. We shouldn't underestimate uncertainties of being a human being. How I feel about my fears is that I feel unsafe in this world, in this body, and my body doesn't want to feel unsafe because my body wants to feel safe and comforted. And what my mind does is I find a problem and I make my own story with my own predisposition and I get really scared. And then I go through it and do the thing. It may be that something hurts in my body and I go to the doctors and they check me up and say, it's okay, you're not gonna die, it's something minor or it's nothing. And I feel this weight off my shoulders, and for that moment I feel really safe. And then slowly, you know, through time, the anxieties come back again. I go through these obstacles again and again to search for this feeling of relief, of this feeling of, okay, I'm safe. But these fear cycles, I think, are almost like addiction, you know? the root cause is not feeling safe in this body, in this world, in our perception of the world. And then the mind, rational mind, finds a system of how to relieve itself and how to get in a place where it will feel comforted and safe again. And of course, like any addiction, this relief only lasts for so long before we need to get another dose of relief, until we have to find another fear that we can relieve ourselves from. I hear people saying all the time, I'm an anxious person and that is just how it is. And I will probably always be anxious and I just have to accept that. If you are one of those people, it's totally okay, you know, I don't judge you and everybody knows their body the best. So I'm not here to tell you what you should think and how you should act on your fears and your problems. I'm just here to tell you how I think of things from my own experience. And it is that I am not actually an anxious person. I'm just addicted to being fearful. I know that my body is used to working this way, and it's really hard to change the patterns in the mind when I am afraid and fearful for all of those years. It's really hard to say, okay, now I'm not gonna be afraid anymore, because I feel unsafe, because yes, the body is used to their own patterns. My therapist once said, when I was analyzing my fears and why I feel like that, and she said something really simple, because I tend to overcomplicate things, and she said, you are just used to this hormonal mix of stress and fear in your brain. And basically when the brain gets used to feeling a certain way, that becomes safe for the body, for the brain, and it wants to hold on to that. The brain doesn't want to change and go to unknown situations, and our body is not here for us to be happy. It's here to make sure that we survive. So what I try to say is that I am not an anxious person. I'm just basically addicted to stress and anxiety, and it makes me feel safe. And somewhere inside me, I believe that it's keeping me safe. I believe that this is the thing that is keeping me safe and alive. And this is, when I think rationally about it, a total misconception, and it doesn't make any sense. Stress, if not anything else, contributes to illness, and chronic stress, I would say, it contributes to bigger chance of bad things happening to me in any genre of my life. So yes, it's contradictory, and I believe that I can beat that addiction and create new, healthier neural pathways. And I'm already working on it, and I've come a long way for the past year or so. I found that the problem is that I'm looking at myself as this mini, tiny fragment of a human. And this whole world and all the problems and all the terrible things happening are somehow on my shoulders. I often found myself guilty for something that went wrong out of my control. I found myself really shameful when I made a mistake, and when something bad happened, for example, my painting turned out bad, or I got sick, or my relationship was falling apart. I a lot of the times had this mentality of I didn't try hard enough, I am not good enough, and I felt guilty. And then the fears kind of gotten stronger and stronger because of all this self-doubt and all of this bad attitude towards myself, and feeling like I'm this tiny human that has to do everything right, and that I have to control everything, and that if something bad happens, it's ultimately my fault, because I didn't try hard enough, or I wasn't good enough, or something. And I found that this is really the root of my anxieties. I, in some capacity, believe that what I want wants me, and that the universe, or whoever you believe into, if you believe into something higher than us, wants to give me what I want. And sometimes I think I want something on the surface, but when I look deeper, I actually realize that I don't really want it. And Fear-Free Life was one of these examples. I was always like, oh, I would so love to not be anxious right now and to just be a normal human being, capable to have normal human being conversations and meeting new people and making art. Why do I procrastinate when I want to go painting? You know, why am I so afraid that my health is going to go to hell, when I thought that I didn't want that, you know? I thought that I wanted to be without those problems. But when I looked way deeper into myself, almost like have some subconsciousness, I found this comfort in feeling this way. And I found that I actually don't want to feel less fearful. And this is shocking, you know, because it sounds totally crazy and it feels totally crazy, but it's true. I have this subconscious mentality that fears are keeping me safe, and from the feelings of unworthiness, I also got the mentality that I may be not deserving of better things, or my self-esteem was going down because I felt like every time something bad happened, it was my fault. So these anxiety cycles and fear addiction also, I think, hurts self-esteem and how the person sees themselves really much. And it was all spiraling down from me. Lower self-esteem, higher levels of anxiety and panic attacks before I realized that I was spiraling down, because I actually find comfort in this fear and I don't, deep in myself, want to resolve it. So this is my next point: clear vision of what I want. So what I did was actually make a clear vision, and I'm still making it and adjusting it, a clear vision of wanting to live without fears, without unnecessary fears. Of course, if the bear is chasing me, I'm gonna be afraid and run, but without fears based on the imaginary stories that happen in my head. And when I decided that, it all slowly went up from there, because I knew where I was heading and I gave it an intention. I highly recommend that you get your clear vision of what you want in your life and what you really want to change within yourself, to be happier, to live better. I really encourage you to sit down and, you know, write it down, write it in your journal or wherever, in your notes, and really leave it there to marinate. And then you will know in which direction you are for sure wanting to go. In this case, in the direction of less stressful and fear-free life. I remember my grandfather always saying, fear is hollow and there is none around, which basically means that fear is an illusion. It doesn't exist actually. And it's true, you know, our brain is made to predict the danger, and it sees the danger where there is none, and it sees already the final terrible result when the thing didn't even start yet. For example, my abdomen hurts and it's been hurting for a while, and I went to the doctor and I was really anxious going there, and I was really anxious and scared. What will happen? What will they tell me? What is wrong with me? And I made up all of those stories in my head before I even went there about all the diseases I could have. And, you know, the whole stories going on in my head made my body really tense and fearful and made it feel like it was already happening. Like I had a feeling that this terrible thing that I was thinking of already happened to me before I even went and got the diagnosis of what was wrong with me, if something even was wrong. And I think that this function of our brain, that we are made to predict the danger and negative outcomes, is really damaging here. And that a great thing we can do is start practicing catching those stories before they happen, we can realize that the only thing actually existing is right here, right now. And from here, we can think about where we want to go and then make the step towards what we want. When we get caught in the stories of our brain of how something bad can happen and how this is gonna unfold if this terrible thing is happening, it's all illusionary, and so we can do nothing about it. So we are just trapped in these terrible stories in our brain, and our body reacts like they are real because it can't really distinguish what really happens and what is happening in our brain sometimes, and it all gets terribly, terribly stressful. If we learn, and this is a long-term process, but if we learn to really observe this mechanism and really be able to see the stories in our head and catch them before we get totally stressed and anxious, this is a big and I think base step of ending the anxiety cycles. When we realize that what we are afraid of is not actually there at all. If something actually is there, for example, if somebody is actually there judging us, pointing finger at us and telling us something terrible about ourselves, and we feel excluded, then from that point on we have this power to make a step in one direction, you know? That is what fear is for, to get you moving somewhere in a better place, for you to be able to make the next step. But if we are only thinking about how we are going to be judged and excluded, then fear serves no purpose. If I look back at how anxious and terrified I was of life a few years back, and how those compulsions of being scared, seeking validation that I'm okay, but getting better, then get scared again, insecurity and my self-esteem spiraling down, I see how much I've gotten better over these few years. And yes, it's really amazing to see within myself how my anxieties and fears are slowly subsiding. There are some seasons of my life where I am more afraid of things, where there is just a lot of stressors and I stop practicing for some reason my clear visualization, and I get all caught up in life, which also happens. And there are really longer and longer seasons that I am totally anxiety free and I can just live freely and make my own decisions without constant anxieties coming in the way. And so yes, the fear really does not make us safe, but it prevents us from living. Wherever you are on your journey of life right now, however your mental health looks like right now, the main message I wanted to say is that there are things that help, and that fear, you know, it's hollow and there is none around. I hope you enjoyed this video and that my thoughts help you in some way or another, and that you have a really lovely day. With as little stress and fear as possible. If you want to support this channel and my videos and my art, you can check out my Patreon down below. I have some cool rewards there, and you can also check out my Etsy shop, of which the link is also down below. And if you like this video, please like it and subscribe to this channel because it helps me a lot. I appreciate you very much. And if you have a story to share about the topics that I discussed today, or you just wanna say hi, you are very welcome to do that in the comments. I reply to all the comments and I love hearing from you guys, actually reading from you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a really, really, really lovely day. And if you ever need some inspiration, I'm just a video away. Bye.